All right, next one, Texans at the Jaguars. The sign opened at Texans -6.5. It's up to 7. Actually moved to 7 like an hour ago, I think. So who do you like in this game?
This is another game I don't really like that much, just because I'm very afraid of Jake Luton for some reason. There's something about it. Maybe it's because he shares my name and I don't want to root against him. But I did like his tape leading up to the draft. I do think he has a chance of being a good quarterback. But he's a traditional pocket passer. He's not going to move around that much. So those are a little bit of concern considering how Minshew plays. But so I'm going to be on the Texans here, -7. They have some concerns on defense. They're going to have a tough time containing James Robinson. Their run defense is just very bad this year. But if they can just pressure Luton and just focus on, we're going to take away Robinson's running game and make Jake Luton beat us, I think the Texans should be able to accomplish that. Because they have J.J. Watt, Whitney Merciless. They have a pretty good defensive front. And, last time the Texans played the Jaguars, I think they scored 30 points. So, I mean, if they can limit the Jaguars to 20 points and they can have similar offensive output, I think they could easily cover this. So I'm on the Texans here. You could probably convince me to bet this game. I'm just very afraid of Jake Luton for no good reason. So if you also like the Texans, I would encourage people to take your advice on how many units to bet.
Okay, yeah, I'm more optimistic on the Texans. Yeah, Jake Luton, I'm not afraid of him because I don't share the same name, maybe. So he had a 35.8% completion rate in college when under pressure. So I don't like those chances against the Texans, who still have their defense is bad, but they still have J.J. Watt and Whitney Merciless, and the one thing their defense can still do is get to the quarterback. So I think Luton might make some mistakes. It's his first game, and I think what the Texans are going to do is what you were saying, is like take away James Robinson, put more men in the box, and force Jake Luton to throw the ball. And Luton has some nice receivers at his disposal, but I think that Gardner Minshew kind of covered up a lot of warts that the Jaguars had because of his mobility, and he's feisty. He was a lot better than his draft status was, and I just don't think Luton is going to be as good as Minshew. Like Minshew just bailed him out a lot by moving around. So Luton can't do that. And I think that he could throw several interceptions and this could be a blowout. I think this line, by the way, moved because there was no trade. There might have been a Will Fuller trade. It sounded like that was in the works. So I think that's why the line moved up. And, given that the Texans still have all their weapons outside of Hopkins, obviously, but like they still have Will Fuller and the other receivers, I think they should win this game. I like betting against horrible teams with terrible quarterbacks. Kind of like we did with the Cowboys last week with Ben DiNucci. So I think this is sort of the same thing. Maybe Luton turns out to be great, and then we look stupid for picking against him here with such a big number. But I think that the Texans are going to cover the spread. So I like them for a few units.
Okay, I'll probably go a couple of units on the Texans then. That the number that convinced me though was 38.3% completion rate under pressure. Like that's massive. Like that. If he's that immobile and that unable to deal with pressure, you could have some serious turnovers in this game. So I think that's definitely going to have a huge impact on this game.
So before we move on to the next game, so we're having a question here. How much is one unit? It's all relative to how much your bankroll is. Like if you can afford, if you can only afford like $20 per unit, then a unit should be $20. If it's $100, then $100 per unit. If you're like a high roller and you're a millionaire, you might want to bet like $5,000 per unit or something because you just don't care. So it's all about your bankroll and how much you can afford. And like you should never risk enough that where it's going to hurt you and you can't pay your rent or anything. This should just be fun, unless you're very experienced and you're very confident in your gambling, and then you could be a professional gambler. But then at that point, you're going to be living in Vegas and you're probably not going to take advice from anyone else. You're going to be doing the research yourself. So I personally go $100 per unit, but it's definitely different for everyone else.
Yeah, I tend to go about $20 a unit, but it also depends. Like if I have a bad week, I may drop to like $15 or $10 a unit if I have to. So units are just a good way for people to express confidence. So like if we both have a 5-unit pick, it means we're very, very confident in it. That's basically what I've taken away from units over the years.
Yeah, exactly. That's definitely true. All right, the last of the early games.